Hi guys, it's Andy from Man City Fan TV. This video was actually driven by a tweet that was put out by David Maddock from The Mirror, and it was with regards to Mo Salah and his performance at the World Cup. So what happened next was it driven me to start looking at some of the other media coverage, certainly of Raheem Sterling and his performances. So this video is all in different sections, but what we're going to do to start with is we're going to start off with that tweet by David Maddock of The Mirror. So what you're going to be able to see now is the actual tweet, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to read, and it says, "This is real," in capitals, "courage from Mo Salah to still impact the game with such an obvious injury. I hope his World Cup is remembered for a real pride in his nation, and his bravery is trying to carry the weight of expectation of 100 million Egyptians on that dodgy shoulder." So quite high praise, but that got me thinking. And what we did next was I went and did a bit of research on David Maddock and basically his words that he's used about Raheem Sterling. Let's go all the way back to 2012. Now in 2012, David Maddock of The Mirror wrote a piece about Raheem Sterling. Now he was 17 at the time, and he was being put under quite a bit of pressure to sign a new contract, or a first major contract with Liverpool, after he'd been in the academy team for a couple of years since moving from QPR. Now David Maddock wrote in his piece, now Maddock is quite pro-Liverpool, and we'll come to that later with Mo Salah, but what he did was he actually called Raheem Sterling foolish. His words were, Raheem Sterling would be foolish if he doesn't sign this professional contract with Liverpool. So, as we know, Raheem Sterling did sign the contract with Liverpool, but if we go forward a few years to 2015, and we had the whole furore about Raheem Sterling not wanting to sign the contract there and then for the allegedly £100,000 per week, I think quite a lot of the press and the media actually missed the real reason why Raheem Sterling did the BBC interview. Now, if you remember rightly, Brendan Rodgers, in his press interview with the media, actually exposed the fact to the media that Raheem Sterling had been offered a £100,000 a week contract, and that he was stalling on signing it, which ultimately then led to the outrage by the likes of John Aldridge and John Barnes and lots of other local, Liverpool media journalists, and caused, all sorts of angst and nastiness that came out, which sort of led to Raheem Sterling doing the BBC interview, which again was misconstrued and was put out there that Raheem was a money grabber and he was this, and he was disrespectful towards Brendan Rodgers. So what I'd like you to do is I'm going to show you, this is from the BBC interview that Raheem Sterling did.
As a 10-year-old, I've just always loved to play football, and to hear some of the comments, I'm not saying Brendan said the comments, but obviously the fans and the public, general public, saying I'm a greedy boy to obviously reject such a huge contract. But as a 10-year-old, this is all I've wanted to do, is play football at the highest level, and that's what I want to keep doing in my career. And every time I finish a game, it's about the contract. Every time I score a goal, it's about the contract. I've got 2 years left on my contract, and it's not the end of the world at this moment in time. I've still got time before the contract is finished.
Let's do some myth busting then. You turn down a contract, they've come to you with several deals, and you've turned down one worth £100,000 a week. Now, to an average 20-year-old, they'll look at that and think, wow, that's amazing. So what Liverpool fans want to know is, why? Why did you turn that down?
Obviously, it's flattering to obviously get such a huge contract. No one, when I started out at QPR, I would never have dreamt of this day, to be fair, to obviously had such a huge offer in front of me. And I'm really thankful for everyone around me and the club for offering me such a good contract. But at this moment in time, as I said before, I just think it's all been about the contract. I just want to solely focus on my football right now and trying to help the club get to the final of the FA Cup. We've got the FA Cup coming up, and I just need to singly focus on football at this moment in time. I don't want everything to be about this contract and stuff like that. I just want to finish as high as possibly on the table with Liverpool. That's been the focus from the start of the season, before there was contract talks. And I want to win. I want to win something at the end of the season, and the FA Cup's a great chance. And hopefully we can go away to Blackburn and get a good result and go from there. But as I said, I just really want to focus on football and keep going.
So as you can see in the interview, Raheem basically said that he didn't want to be put under enormous pressure every day after training and matches to sign the contract, and that he wanted to wait until the summer. However, David Maddock wrote an article then after all of this horrible nastiness that was being pointed towards Raheem Sterling, and he used these types of words. And here's a clip of an image of his actual newspaper article, and in there he used the words disgusting, he used the words criminal, he used the words ungrateful, and he also used the word despicable. Now, hold on a minute, guys. Let's just have a little bit of perspective on this. Raheem Sterling simply said that he didn't blame Brendan Rodgers. He wasn't pointing the finger at him. However, he said all along that he did not want to sign the contract during the season while they were concentrating on the FA Cup final. He would do it at the end of the season when he had more focus to do that type of thing. And he did say on 3 occasions, private conversations about the contract will leak to the media. Not through Raheem's agent, not through Raheem Sterling, but through the club. And more than likely, Brendan Rodgers and the board. Now, we do know Brendan Rodgers came out at the press conference when this was supposed to have been confidential chatter amongst Raheem, his agent, and Rodgers and the hierarchy at Liverpool at the time. And he said that Liverpool had offered Raheem a fantastic £100,000 per week, and basically he was intimating that he'd be crazy if he didn't sign it. Now, if that's not putting pressure on a young kid, I don't know what is. But ever since then, the pressure, the media, the nastiness has just simply increased to the point of where Raheem just decided that enough was enough. He was going to look after himself and he was going to move to Manchester City, which he did do. So, he moves to Manchester City. What happens next? There's vitriol, there's nastiness, there's not only just the songs, the hatred, everything else that's directed towards him from the Liverpool fans, but it seems to spread throughout the whole country. It didn't matter what ground Raheem Sterling went to. Away supporters that had no affiliation with Raheem Sterling whatsoever, nothing to do with England, this is just to do on the back of the actual media tirade against him, were then singing and shouting nasty chants, nasty songs, calling him this, calling him that, and it just seemed to snowball. That even to the point that the media then got involved. And we've all seen the clips and we've all seen the headlines of, you know, Raheem buys a new sink, Raheem eats in Greg's, Raheem this, Raheem that, Raheem the other. To the point that, you know, it's become unpalatable. So if you look at the videos we did, we actually did a video solely on the whole tattoo issue. So what I'm going to do is just show you a very short clip of Ray's thoughts on that particular video about Raheem Sterling and some of the headlines that he's had to put up with in his short career at Manchester City.
Is it another more sinister reason that some people have been putting forward? What's the reason for it? In my mind, this character assassination has been going on for at least a couple of years. This harassment, this bullying, this It is bullying. It's persecution of Raheem Sterling has been going on for 2 or 3 years since he moved from Liverpool to Manchester City, and I don't know why the newspapers are doing it.
So, we're back to the whole few weeks ago nastiness about Raheem's tattoo, and after that was dealt with, we had quite a lot of journalists coming out on the back of the tattoo issue. Some were coming out in defence of him, to be fair. Others just jumping on the bandwagon, all the red tops, etc., that came out. So that was dealt with. Raheem faced the media. He faced the questioning from the media in an open and honest manner. And what happened next was we all thought, well, maybe, naively, it'll all die down. Let the World Cup start. Let him see how he plays. Let's see where he plays, in what formation. Let's hope he does well, etc., etc. So that happens. We play against Tunisia. Now, just quickly on the Tunisian game, which we all saw, I think the first 45 minutes Raheem played pretty well, as did most of the team. Yes, we gave away a penalty, could have been different. Raheem missed one chance, which he was offside from, but Jesse Lingard missed 3-4 chances, easier chances than Raheem Sterling did. But then what's come out of that afterwards seems to be, let's revisit the Raheem Sterling debate once again. It's not a, should we, let's say, drop Jesse Lingard? Should we play Raheem Sterling in his preferred role that he played for last season in Man City, where he scored tons of goals and assists out wide? No. The scapegoat is Raheem Sterling once again. Now, on Twitter today, Andy Dunn from The Mirror actually posted a Sunday supplement from Sky Sports, where himself, Henry Winter and Neil Ashton from The Sun were on a podcast were actually talking about England and the Tunisian game. And to be fair, Andy Dunn is fairly objective with his opinion, so is Henry Winter. However, it was driven by Neil Ashton. Now, Neil Ashton, if you've ever watched the Sunday supplement, does not like Manchester City. It's plain and simple. I mean, every week, as we move further and further away from United, points-wise, it was almost like a scowl on his face when it came to the fact that City were going to walk the league. So they had the podcast. Now, on the podcast, they talked about the result, which was a victory, let's not forget. They talked about the overall performance. They talked about Harry Kane and his 2 goals, which great, send us through, and it's 3 points on to the next game. But then the next question from Neil Ashton was, so what about Raheem Sterling? Not about Jesse Lingard, not about, let's say, Dele Alli being on the pitch for 75 minutes, injured for 40 of those. But again, let's have a debate about Raheem Sterling. Now, there was an article in the Daily Mail this morning by Terry Venables, who was actually pro-Sterling, and said Sterling, he was most excited about Raheem Sterling at this World Cup, and he thinks that he should be given another chance, and he should be possibly, preferably played in a wider position. So, after all of this, it leads me back to David Maddock. So, when you look at the words that he used, and you look at the history behind his articles, it's no surprise that he in particular has not come out in support of Raheem Sterling. Now, with that particular tweet, and the whole fact of him basically saying that Mo Salah, who basically had a bruised shoulder by all accounts, was showing real courage. Well, I disagree with David Maddock there, because if you go back and look at the history of Raheem Sterling's career, from the moment that Brendan Rodgers outed him in public for the contract talks that was supposed to have been confidential, then basically he's been posted as enemy number 1. Now, that's not acceptable in my book, and I tell you something, David Maddock, if you think real courage is somebody playing in a World Cup with a bruised shoulder, then what, for in my opinion, what takes real courage is what Raheem Sterling does week in, week out in the Premier League on international duty, and that is face crowds of his own supporters on the international stage that are all over social media and actually adding to the whole vitriol that some of the journalists in this country actually write about this lad. That shows real courage, to actually go onto a pitch and try and play to the best of your potential when you know in the background it doesn't really matter what you do, they will always have it in for you. And I find it absolutely disgusting, and it's about time that the media in this country forget about Mo Salah and Liverpool, this whole Liverpool loving, and actually start showing the same level of support and the encouragement for our England number 10. And then maybe, just maybe, he might be able to perform just a little bit better than he did do in the second half. But he wasn't the only one. There were plenty of players who went missing in that second half. But once again, this is an example of, after the game, after a victory, this article in the Daily Mail by Jonathan Spencer. Now, I know maybe Jonathan Spencer didn't write this headline because it's probably one of his sub-editors, but this is after a victory, yeah? This is after other people didn't perform to a 8 or 9 out of 10. This was the headline in the article by Jonathan Spencer in the Daily Mail today, which I find absolutely disgusting, because what it's doing, it's reopening this whole debate about Raheem Sterling, and I just don't know where it's going to go, guys. I really don't, because I just find we've got journalists who are basically writing articles and using everything that's been discussed over the last month and bringing it back into the public domain again to make Raheem Sterling enemy number 1. Now, I don't know about you guys, but for me, you know, it pisses me off big style. And I think these journalists are scum. Certainly some of them are absolutely despicable that they allow this to happen when this is the World Cup, when everyone is really sort of rooting for England. We've got a victory. It wasn't fantastic in the second half, but we've got Panama coming up. And on top of that, what we're doing again is we're opening up this whole debate about Raheem Sterling once again, public enemy number 1. So that's it from me, guys. Please comment below. Please don't forget, share this video around, subscribe to the channel. I just don't think, I think I've realised now, this is not going to stop. I don't think if Raheem Sterling scores the winner in a semi-final or a World Cup final, I still don't think it'll matter. There'll be a headline for a couple of days and it'll be back to square one again. They'll be looking for him, and I don't know why. It must be something sinister that's in there, because it's just nastiness, and I just don't get it, and I hate it. And I want to discuss about it, and I want you guys to discuss below about it. So I'm quite angry today, as you can see. So please subscribe to the channel, comment below, share this on Twitter, social media platforms, and let's give these journalists something back, because this is not just about Manchester City. This is about England. This is about the Premier League, and this is about the England international team moving forward to try and win a World Cup. And yet they're constantly throwing grenades into the whole mix just to somehow grab headlines.